everyone. So today I have the great privilege of interviewing Megan. Megan was a student at the Academy a very long time ago. She still is a student at the Academy. That's the exciting part for my team and I. And the reason why I wanted to interview Megan today is because I really wanted her to share what it's like to be part of a French-English bilingual language program when you are very young. Megan was born and raised in the UK. Her parents are English. There was nothing that meant from early years that Megan would be bilingual one day. She is now, and so I think it will be really quite fascinating to hear from her what being part of the Academy has done to her. So Megan, thank you very much for being with us today.
That's all right, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So first of all, let's start from the very beginning. You came to the Academy, I still remember that day. You were about 7 years old.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this. Was it mum and dad's idea or was it yours?
So it was my mum that heard about it first. I think it was just when she'd be picking me up from school, she'd be talking to the other parents, and I think a couple of them just mentioned that they'd started sending their kids to the Academy. And I think they just kind of explained to mum what the lessons were like, that the kids were finding it really fun, but they were also starting to really develop their French and start to understand how to form sentences rather than just learn just bits of vocab. So I think mum could see from what they said that it was already working, and the kids had only been there like a couple of months. And I think she just really liked the idea of it. So she kind of just mentioned it to me and my dad, and we were all up for it. And both my parents said this is a really good opportunity. It's a skill they wanted me to have. So it's then how I joined.
So how old are you now? Is it 21?
I'm 20.
20.
Yeah.
So you're 20 now. Do you have any recollection of any of your lessons and how you used to learn and the kids that were there? Do you feel that this part of your learning all those years ago is still with you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just remember when I was really young and you were doing the kids classes, it was just always a really fun place to go. And it was almost like a bit of a trick, like we'd all go thinking it was really just fun and games, but actually at the same time, we'd be learning lots of French and really understanding the language. I mean, we'd learn through flashcards or games or songs, like we might watch kind of snippets of French kids programs. Mm-hmm. So it was just a really fun place to go, but at the same time, we were being exposed to so much of the language that really it was forming those building blocks. And I mean, sometimes VICI would put on, they'd be almost like experience days. Like if it was pancake day, we'd all come in and we'd make crepes. And I was like, oh, food, I love it. But at the same time, I was also exactly. I was like, this is great. Like I'm going in for pancakes, but actually I'm learning French at the same time. And I mean, we do like the French movie nights. We'd all go in again with food. There's a theme here, but I mean, kind of popcorn and film in French, and you'd just be absorbing all this language, but without realizing. It was just really fun to go to.
All about the immersion experience, which clearly we promote because you know, it's not just about learning a few words for animals or colors or what's the weather like today. It's very much about embracing the language as a whole and creating an experience for the children that means that they are really kind of welcome and confident in this bilingual environment. So I'm just looking at my notes here because I've got very specific questions that I would love to ask, because I can talk about it all day and every day. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, so for me it's wonderful with the, you know, as you know, because you're still a member, we'll talk about that in a minute, the Academy has developed over the years, but obviously the bilingual language programs for children are still something that is extremely close to my heart, because this is how the story began 20 years ago. So I've just got a few little notes here with question I'd like to ask you. Something that's also really important to me is that it's not just, in my opinion, about acquiring a new language. Would you say that having been introduced to a foreign language at a very young age and having continuing over the years has just giving you the ability to speak another language and communicate with other people, or have you found that it's helped you in other areas of your life?
I think it's helped with so many different skills. I mean, obviously it goes without saying, the learning the language, of course, it gives me kind of another skill to add. And then, as you said, definitely kind of with confidence and everything. I think it's just really cool to be able to know that if you turn on some French news, you'll be able to understand it and know what they're talking about. Or if you go to France, again, you'll be able to get by and there won't be that language barrier. I think the confidence from that, and also just being able to look back and go, oh, when I was really young, I was just kind of doing these small games and learning all these bits of kind of flashcards, vocab. And then now I'm where I am and I can have a kind of fluent conversation or write an essay, do an exam in French. I think it's just gives you a lot of confidence to look back and realize all that.
I
think
agree.
yeah. And then as well, I kind of, as you said, like the cultural awareness, just understanding of other countries. I mean, like at Christmas, we kind of go into the lesson and we'd have a chat about, oh, what are we going to do with our family for Christmas and what are our kind of plans. But then we'd also discuss Christmas in France and we discuss it in other places. So it wasn't ever just focused on the UK. It kind of looked at other countries as well and that understanding. And I think especially when you're a kid, it's so easy to just be focused on you and you completely forget, oh, that's what it's like for other people.
Yeah. It
and
clearly
then
gives, oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. And then, yeah, I was just going to kind of just mention like the teamwork element as well. It's kind of working as a team and developing those skills, and even comes into things like memory, just how much you have to learn. I think it really helps with skills. But yeah,
that's interesting. I had not thought about the team element. I like that. That is excellent. Absolutely. It's all about communication. It's all about social awareness. And you're right, teamwork is extremely important as well, especially when you're, in the class with other little people who are like you and you are evolving together. You have this one little thing in common, which is your French class or classes every week, your little workshops, as you mentioned. Now, because the digital space has evolved an awful lot, all the children have access to little online games, and they can compete against one another to see who's going to get the next certificate, which is absolutely wonderful. And so, yeah, there's definitely team cohesion. I think for me as well, something that I really want to do my best to instill in children is the idea of self-confidence and a can-do attitude. And I think, Megan, that you're a wonderful example of that, because you're quite an introvert person. You were always really quietly confident in the classroom, and we always think that in order to speak a foreign language well, you have to be an extrovert, you have to exert confidence, but actually absolutely not. Children progress at their own rate of ability and speed, and being introvert or extrovert has no real influence on how well you are going to develop as a linguist. So to me, when I have parents coming to me saying, thanks to my child being part of your bilingual program, I've noticed that they were more confident in that area of life. Teachers have said suddenly they seem to be a lot more confident and comfortable speaking in class. All of that to me is really, really quite lovely, and shows that it's not just about acquiring a new skill. Another one of my question is that now you're a young adult and you are still at the academy. So actually, I'm just thinking, why are you still here? Which is wonderful, by the way. But why are you still with us? Because you're working now, you're grown up.
Yeah, I think I just really enjoy it. I think, I've mentioned stuff like the teamwork, like it's a really good place to go to feel, as you said, you're all kind of, you've got the same focus of you're learning a language, but you're learning it together. So I think firstly, it's really nice. It's almost like a little community within your classes.
Absolutely.
it's such a nice place to go. And then I think as well, now I've got that skill and I've had that taste of being bilingual and being able to go to France and have that conversation. I don't want to lose it. I couldn't imagine now in 5 years' time going, oh, it's started to drop a bit. I'd be so disappointed. I think it's just such a cool thing to be able to do. I just really want to keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And also, you know, language or languages evolve all the time. I often mention my own experience and say that, you know, I've lived in the UK for 21 years now, and there probably isn't a week when you know, I don't learn anything new. But then it's the same with French, my own mother tongue, because there's always plenty to learn, and it is such a wonderful thing to be bilingual, that, as you quite rightly mentioned, it would be a shame to lose it, or perhaps not completely lose it, because I don't think you ever would, but not feel quite as comfortable speaking it.
Yeah.
Now, one of my other question is, obviously, when parents invest in their children's bilingual education at a young age, such as, you know, what your mum and dad did when you were only 7, they may not immediately think of the future, because, you know, I'm a mum myself, and when my kids were 7, them being 20 was just a different world. I didn't think it was going to imagine quite so soon. So I don't think many parents think, well, great, because it is going to be a wonderful asset for my child's future. I think a lot of parents feel that they want to do something for their children's education. They want to offer them something that may not be part of the curriculum in their school. They want to broaden their horizon. But now you're an adult and you're working. So could you tell us, have you had, or have you felt that you've had better work opportunities because French was on your CV?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, first of all, it's such a good conversation starter. If you can go into an interview and someone sees, oh, she's got something and it's a little bit different, let's have a chat about that, and I can talk about it with them. I think straight away they see this is actually something that's quite interesting. And I think employers really understand the benefits of having someone that speaks another language. It opens their company up to a much wider customer base. I think for them, they can just straight away see the benefits. And I think as well, quite often when I've been in interviews and people have been speaking to me about my French, they've often asked the question about, was it hard work? And I think it shows to them that it is hard work, and about the perseverance. They say it and they know it is going to be hard work, but they want to hear it from you that you do persevere and you have those skills and that commitment. I think they just really love to see it. Yeah.
Do you know, that's the first thing that I thought of. Obviously, in my line of work, I only ever employ people who have language skills. But having spoken to employers in the past who came to us and spoke about members of their staff, they wanted us to test their language skills. This is something, what you've just mentioned is so relevant, because it is something that comes back in conversations regularly. Employers say to me, look, someone who has mastered a foreign language, so such as yourself, Megan, who basically wasn't supposed to, was not brought up abroad or in a bilingual family. We see these people, you know, that are able to learn, able to commit to something, able to adapt. And obviously there's all the practical thing about they can pick up the phone, you know, they can help practically, but it goes well beyond that. Even I think for a company that would not need anyone who has French language skills, the soft skills associated to being bilingual actually are pretty enormous. And you know what, actually I've got one last question, and I've just thought of that one based on what you've just said. So you joined the academy, you were 7, you're still there, you're 20, you were a little girl who came on her own, you didn't have any friends who came to the academy, you made friends, you were always very studious, and there's obviously the way that we taught you at the time, and your lessons now are slightly different, even though, you know, the methodology behind it isn't that, you know, different. would you, and perhaps that's a technical question that may not be so easy for you to answer, but do you see, or have you noticed, or when you look back, can you make some sort of analysis on what you were learning and how you were learning when you were 7 or 8, and all the progression that has happened over the years to the point where you were just playing with flashcards and listening to French songs and doing little role plays and playing with puppets, and now you can read novels in French, you can write an essay, and you can have a full-blown conversations on politics. If you looked back for a moment, would you be able to understand the kind of mechanic behind it and how it all happened?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you start off and you're young and you're in the lessons where you're doing kind of working with flashcards or games or songs, it's kind of giving you those basic building blocks for the language. So you're learning nouns and verbs and how to then kind of play around with the language and adapt it. And then just, I guess, slowly as you start to progress through the classes, you're pushed more. So whereas you might have started just watching a video and then saying, oh, what words did you understand? You then get stretched to more, could you describe it? Describe what you saw in French. And I think slowly you just get more and more pushed and stretched and supported the whole way by the teachers. They were so supportive. If you missed a bit of understanding, they'd be happy to go back and recap it with you. I think they just slowly and gradually kind of stretched you more and more to kind of going from basic words to sentences to writing to paragraphs and conversations. But I think I didn't appreciate that when I was really young. When I was really young, I just thought, oh, these are the games and these are the songs and these are all the fun bits. And it wasn't until I was in the older classes and the adult classes that I could go out, actually, everything that I did when I was young has brought me here now. And I didn't realize I understood this much of the language. And I think as I've gotten older and progressed to getting more kind of on the essay style or longer conversations, that's when I fully started to see the full benefits of the program and how it's all worked together and been this long journey to get me where I am now. So it's definitely just building upon. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the word journey and building, and the expression building ponds, because that's exactly what it is. I am really pleased that you say, I never noticed it when I was young, because the whole idea for us is to bring the children into this really fun and entertaining universe where they are going to be surrounded by a foreign language and play with it and then manipulate it and then really understand it and then analyze it and then fully use it. But the whole idea for us is not that they wonder how it works and try and break it down too early, because that would clearly kill the fun. So I'm really pleased that you said that, because that's the purpose behind it. It isn't about, jumping and listening to songs and putting a few flashcards together. These are just resources that help us, French coaches, bring the knowledge to the children in the way that they can understand it. But it is it's quite wonderful for me to hear that you understand now at the age of 20 that there was a real purpose behind all of that. So I've got one last question. Will you invest in the same kind of education as your parents did to you with your own little children one day?
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen the benefits of it for me myself, and I'd feel bad if I didn't give them that same opportunity. It's helped so much with so many other skills. I still kind of keep in touch with the kids that I used to learn with in the same lessons. I just think it's been such a good experience, and it's just been fun the whole way through, and just so glad that I got to go to the academy to begin with. So definitely.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you know what? Again, to me, that's really music to my ears, because, as far as I'm concerned, it really is about the legacy. As you quite rightly said, learning a foreign language is a journey, and it's about enjoying the journey and the wonderful experience. It isn't a quick fix, and for me it's about leaving a real legacy behind it. So I was very young when you came to the academy, and when your children will come to the academy, I'll be very old, and that is the beautiful legacy. So Megan, thank you so much for answering all my questions today. It was a real pleasure interviewing you. Thanks again.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.